1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, and welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 3, Episode 17. Before we get started, a reminder that make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Leave a comment. It always helps me out. Always make sure that I'm on the right path and that I'm providing content that you guys want to listen to. Make sure to follow us on our social media. It's Not a Sport to You. Check out all of our previous shows on SoundCloud and on our YouTube. All right, now this talk, we're gonna start out with the talk as always. A lot of stuff happened this week, and there's a lot of interesting news things that kind of came out. And I had some other talks arranged for you guys. I want to talk about the $70 price tag increase. But we're gonna talk about Epic's move with the App Store and their attack on Google and the other's monopoly. So we're going to talk about that. Also, I may sound a little different. I had some technical difficulties, so I'm using a different mic. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel and you see this big bulge of a thing right here, that's the mic. So hopefully this sounds good. We're trying out something new. Anyway, let's get into it. So if you don't know what happened, Epic's game pushed an update to Fortnite. And the update was essentially you could buy V-Bucks in the actual client, which we'll go into a little bit later. And this broke the terms of service of the App Store for Apple and the terms of service for the Google Store. And since that happened, those apps were pulled from the store. Fortnite is no longer on the Google Play Store or the App Store. And the reason because of that is and it doesn't mean if you already downloaded the app, you can still download it. But if you haven't downloaded the app, then you can't download it. So that happened, and Epic retaliated with suing both Apple and Google, and making a parody ad of Apple's famous 1984 commercial. Right? So what essentially happened here, and why would Epic do this? Well, what happened here and what the terms of service they broke, but they obviously knew what they're doing. So first off, get that in your mind that when Epic does this, they know what they're doing. They have a legal team. They knew exactly what the fuck they were doing. So what they did, right? If you buy any type of currency in an app for everyone, have to do it through Google Pay or Apple Pay. You have to do it from them, and then they will transition it to the app to you get your virtual currency or whatever you're trying to buy in the app. But you have to do it through Apple or Google. And the reason because of this, and this applies to every third-person marketing, Steam, even Epic does it themselves, the Microsoft Store, the PlayStation Store, everyone does it, is that they take a flat 30% out of those purchases. We've seen it before, right? So they take 30% out, right? And 30% is, if you buy a $60 game, that's $18. So when you're buying a $60 game on PlayStation, they're taking away $18 of that. Now that transitions to 1 million copies sold. That's a lot of money that you just lost that the developer doesn't get, that is split between the publisher, right? So that's a lot of money. And Epic did this because they wanted that 30%. It's obviously that they wanted that 30%. I think the Epic's thing is we're doing this for the people, which I think is good. I think it may be good to break up these monopolies on the App Store, and it shouldn't just be Google running it or Apple running it, and it should be a more of an open market for anyone to put things on, and they make money no matter whose platform it's on. You still got to buy an app phone, an Apple phone, to use the App Store. So the App Store should be just an open market for everyone. I do believe that's probably best in the long run, but of course we live in America and capitalist society. That's not how things work. So Epic, right? So what they did is they pushed this update in game where you can either go through the App Store and spend $10 for the V-Bucks or spend $7, which is the amount that they would be making, taking away the 30%, for the same amount of V-Bucks. And that broke the terms of service, right? So Apple pulled them down. They sued Apple, yada, 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 and the story goes on, right? It's really just that simple, that it's just them being salty about that 30%. And I can't stress enough how much that 30% means to developers. You know, it's the reason why we see why people were partnering up with the Epic Game Store, because when, you know, Valve was taking that 30%, Epic was only taking 20% apparently. It's the reason why we see people kind of you know, join up under Microsoft Studios or Microsoft Game Pass, because it's a consistent income. What you want when your game launches, it's a consistent income. Generally, I don't have the stats up right now. I wish I could show it to you, but I was dealing with technical issues. Is that when a game launches, you know, when a game launches, it launches at the top. If you look at a graph, right, it launches at the top, and that's when it makes its most money within the first couple months. And then as it continues, it just kind of dips and it goes down and goes down and goes down. And it's not a steady you know, line of revenue. It just keeps going down and down and down, because once the game released, that's when people buy it, and then after that it doesn't make any money. And then even when your people are buying it like that, you're still losing 30% of the profits. And 30% goes for everything. It maybe it's just $18 for a $60 game, but whether it's, you know, buying a $5 DLC, a $70 deluxe edition, you know, whatever it is, they take 30% of that. And what Epic's trying to do is just break that up, you know? Like, we saw it with Steam. We saw it with them trying to you know, tackle Valve and with the Epic Game Store, because they were able to do that. And now they're going after you know, the monopoly on the App Store, which I think it's very interesting, because as we saw earlier this week, I talked about it last show as well, that they don't really like the App Store. Microsoft pulled off Xbox Game Cloud beta because how much Apple was gating them, how much Apple really wants to control everything on their platforms, which is cool, but it's not that cool. And then, like, what we also have to take in consideration with this is, like, yes, it is all about the 30%, but it's also about Tencent. Tencent plays a huge role. They own 40% of Epic. And in China, right, where they're publishing both PUBG and Fortnite, they're competing with themselves in China, Tencent is, because they own both properties there, and they make 100% of the profits, you know? So they're probably looking at those numbers and seeing, wow, we need to stop this Apple and 30%. And then we also need to look at, like, how that money is affecting us and affecting other developers, because we do want more money into developers, because games are getting more expensive to make, and as they get more expensive, if we're losing money overall and these monopolies are taking money, especially like Apple, who probably doesn't, you know, when was Apple, in my opinion, hasn't done anything good technology wise since the death of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs died, he came out the iWatch and the iPad, and they just been rebranding shit for years. I think, like, Apple's a terrible company, which is why they were, like, the first to react to this. Or Google took a little second. They were like, oh yeah, you broke our terms of services. You know, why would you do that? But it's still a very interesting thing where this will go. I think that it's, you know, it's all about that 30%. If it makes the App Store more public, open source store, then yes, I do believe that's better in the long run. Do I think both Epic and Apple or Google are in the wrong and that you should rally behind and hashtag free Fortnite or whatever the fuck? No. I mean, I know Epic, just, like, it was very strange, their approach on how they did this, but they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly how they wanted to tackle it. They already had the legal documents in play. They already had that parody commercial in play. They knew that they were going to go to war with Apple and probably Google too. Like, Google was just so delayed to this. Like, they already knew that this was going to affect Apple, and then they were attacking Apple directly. And Google's just kind of a sideline that just like, uh, but in the long run, if it does open up the app market as well, and we can get more money in the hands of not the publishers, you know, not the middleman like Valve, but the actual developers and the people who develop the games and the companies that develop the games, that's better. And that's why we see things like these studios go under PlayStation and all that, because it's a safety net, especially Xbox. It's a safety net because they want those pre-order bonuses. They want that game out fast. So when the game releases and the hype's out there, excuse me, they can make as much money as possible. And then when it starts to dip, you know, they still have somewhat of a steady revenue. The only game I think that was actually started low on sales and went up in value is Rainbow Six Siege. Like, that's everyone's dream. But generally it's a decline, which is why, you know, it just keeps going on and on and on. It's talking on forever. This is why we see games as a service now, and et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's gonna be the talk. It is about the 30%. I will keep you posted as this stuff develops. It's actually very interesting how Epic's gonna tackle this and how this is going on and what this means as the industry as a whole, especially with our talks coming up. I want to talk about, you know, there's a lot of financial talks coming up that I want to talk about. I want to talk about this Avenger game that's coming out, why you should kind of be wary of it when it comes out. I want to talk about the $70 price tag increase that we'll probably see as well. So some really good talks that are coming forward. Anyway, that's going to be the main talk for this week's show. Let's get into the news. All right, and we are back. Now let's get right into some news. Not a whole lot of interesting news, just some small stuff. But a lot of interesting esports things going on, especially with like League of Legends and Overwatch, since we're going into playoffs and then like the World Championship. So expect the esports coming along as too, because I want to talk about esports talk. I think I haven't done that enough this year, so expect that coming around real soon. So first, I want to start out with a rumor that The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is listed for Nintendo Switch on Amazon UK. Nintendo's been doing a lot of things behind the scene. We know this. They were making Super Mario the space one, not Odyssey. Odyssey was the newest one. Sunshine, and I think 64 as well. To the Switch for its anniversary, and then we saw like earlier some rumors announcement of like Ocarina of Time and some other old classic Switch game or classic Nintendo games coming to the Switch. So I really hope this is true and we see some ports of these old games, because I kind of missed that growing up, or I just wasn't born yet. So I would like to play those. Next up, we have Ghost of Tsushima Legends is coming to PS4 this fall 2020. So they are doing first details of the new co-op multiplayer mode inspired by Japanese mythology. So they're adding a new co-op multiplayer mode to Ghost of Tsushima. That's cool to see more Ghost of Tsushima content, actually, because I thought, you know, I really like this game. I'm kind of pissed at myself for sleeping on it, and I'm really happy and I thought it'd just be kind of a one and done sort of a deal. But them doing more content, or especially multiplayer kind of co-op content, could be really fun, and it's free to download. So definitely seeing that coming out is really cool. Next, we have Disney. They just ended the 20th Fox brand, which is, you know, really weird to see, actually. You know, when you see the 20-year Fox thing, I guess Disney got rid of that. This, you can see it on the YouTube channel on the stream I'm looking at right now. So that's gone. You know, Disney owns Fox now. So, they make a lot of money and they own like 40% of the market. We talked about them all the time in the show, but just seeing that gone is really sad because that's something that's like it's a staple of movie, even though it's like, a century wrong. Next we have the Vampire, then Master Kids Bloodline 2. It's got delayed 2021. So that's sad to, see if you like that game, but it's not to come unexpected with these games being delayed with the current pandemic that's going on. And then speaking of delays, we also have Halo Infinite getting delayed. Now this one's a little bit different than the previous one because Halo Infinite is the flagship title of the Xbox Series X. It was their go-to when they announced that thing. Halo was their launch title. That's Halo's the game that's going to sell the Xbox Series X. And that's delayed. We won't get the new Fable game for a really long time, as I saw with just the trailer and what they showed us and the rumors and all that. And there's been job descriptions on their website of looking for like lead script writers and shit for the Fable game. So you're not getting a Fable game for a really long time. And then when the Xbox Series X releases, you won't get the updated version of like Ori and the Blind Forest for some time as well. So this really kind of sucks. Especially for Xbox, because this is their flagship title. We talked about this on the console war episode. But again, because the console wars are over, you have the Xbox Game Pass, which pushes 70,000 old games, which is a little bit cheating, but it's still probably enough to sell Xbox Series X. So that's kind of sad to see that Halo got delayed, but that's big. Next up, we have Shroud. Shroud returned to Twitch. If you don't know who Shroud is, he's one of the biggest variety streamers. He left for Mixer after getting like a $10 million deal or something like that. A little bit less than Ninja, who went to YouTube, but Shroud decided to go back to Twitch. Now, let's get into the big news. And I'm using Lowell Gamepedia because I think it's a lot better format to see who's winning in playoffs than the actual league website, which is kind of really sad. But you will be able to see it on the video, and we can see, who is made it, who didn't make it to playoffs, who ends playoffs, who's the first seed, second seed, etc., the brackets, and which place, who's winning, who's losing in the playoffs right now. So we're gonna start with LPL, which is China. Have Top Esports in first. So in round 1. It was V5, Victory 5 versus Fun Plus Phoenix. Victory 5 is in 5th place. And Fun Plus is in 8th. Fun Plus is last year's world champions. They lost. And Victory 5 moved over to the quarterfinals, which is they versed Sunning versus Victory 5. Sunning won, and then Sunning won to the semifinals, and they versed Top Esports, who is the first place seed in China right now. And that's in the winners bracket. In the losers bracket, we have LGD Gaming versus Team WE. LG won. They moved on. They versus IG, which is 2018's world champions. They got 3-0'd. LG moved on, and they versus JD Gaming, which is the second seed in Korea right now, in the semifinals. And then we will have the finals real soon, and it's to be decided. Korea has 8 teams that can make it to playoffs because they have 17 teams total. So that's up with not Korea, not China. Moving on to Korea now, they have yet to play yet. They haven't really played anything yet. But in the first place seed, we have we have Dragon X in first place. And then we have Damwon Gaming in second, Genji in third, T1 in fourth, Afrika Freaks in fifth, and that's the cutoff point for who is making it into playoffs. So that means KT roster, Sandbox Gaming, Team Dynamic, King One Life, and Seoul Hwang Prince did not make it into playoffs. So we look forward to see those games because I've been watching some Korean highlight clips and they are insane. Next, we have LEC. And in LEC, have Rogue in first place. In round 1, which is the winner's bracket, we have Rogue versus Fnatic. And then we have G2 versus Mad Lions. And those are the two winners brackets. So if whoever wins those 2 rounds moves on to semifinals immediately, and whoever doesn't gets put in a loser bracket. So in first place we have Rogue, then we have Mad Lions in second, G2 in third, Fnatic in fourth, SK in fifth, and FC Sklock 04, which had a miracle run, started from the bottom a couple weeks ago, reshuffled the roster, and just won all the way, barely making it playoffs in 6th place. And then Sklock Esports, Misfits, Team Vitality, and Origins did not make it into playoffs. In LCS, who have actually played games in playoffs this weekend, in the winners bracket, we had FlyQuest versus EG first in round 1. We had FlyQuest win that game. We had TSM versus Golden Guardians. TSM got absolutely destroyed by Golden Guardians, sending TSM to the losers bracket. And then in the losers bracket, we had Dig versus TSM. TSM won. They move over to round 2 in the losers bracket. And then 100 Thieves versus, 100 Trash versus EG. And EG 3-0'd 100 Trash, and EG moves on into the losers bracket as well. So in round 2, in the winners bracket, we have Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians and Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Whoever loses those games gets sent to the losers bracket and versus off against TSM or Evil Geniuses. Whoever wins in the losers bracket gets moved on to round 3 in the semifinals. Whoever wins in the winners bracket gets moved over to round 4. And then they play, and then they play in the loser bracket, and then whoever's the winner of the losers bracket, whoever's the winners of the winners brackets gets put on the finals. But currently, the seeding placing is we have Team Liquid in first, Cloud9 second, FlyQuest third, Team Liquid fourth, Golden Guardians fifth, Evil Geniuses sixth, 100 Trash, and seventh, and Dignitas is in 8th place. For some reason, we have 8 playoff teams. It's probably just because of sponsorships, that's the rumor, but we have Counterlogic Gaming Immortals in 9th and last place. All right, so that's League of Legends. Look forward to a huge esports talk coming up, because that was kind of just a brief rundown. All right, so now in the Overwatch League, they also going into playoffs, going into like one of the last weeks. I believe playoffs start September 3rd for them. But currently the standings are Dragons in first, followed by Fusion, then Shot, then Eternal, then Charge, Mayhem, Excelsior, Valiant, Regents, Gladiators, Destiny, Spark, Fuel, Definite, Hunters, Spitfire, Outlaw, Titans, Justice, and Uprising is in last place again. They got rid of their what state or city they're from, which I thought. But that's what's up with them in the Overwatch League, so look forward to playoffs for that. In terms of games that were released this week, we have Microsoft Flight Simulator coming out, Pathfire, Kingmakers, Battletoads, PGA Tour 2K if you like golfing, Insurgent Sandstorm, No Straight Roads, Vader Immortal, a VR PlayStation game, Best Friends Forever, Final Fantasy The Crystal comes out. Tell Me Why. Nothing big. Again, this slow month is the month that we ramp up into the good stuff. And then next month we get like Tony Hawk, and we get the Avengers game, etc., and some remakes that are really good. But more look forward to September than now, because right now we're just really chilling with game releases. I guess the biggest like surprise game release this year was Fall Guys. So anyway, that being said, that's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was a good talk. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow us on our social media as well. Check out the website and all that good stuff. This has been your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.